Okay, 91 wants us to prove the arc length formula for a polar curve is what they just gave me over here. All right, so what I'm looking at, this is problem number 91. Let's read through it. Recall that a polar curve is r as a function of theta. All right, it has a parametric equations. It's x equals, and it's going to be r cosine theta. And I'm going to say r is a function of theta, so it's f of theta cosine theta. And then it goes on to say y is r times sine theta, and then it's going to be f of theta sine theta. And it goes on to say derivatives, right, the derivatives. Now, how do you do derivatives? Just, kind of mildly going through it. It's really not that bad, by the way. So x prime, I'm going to say x is a function of theta. And what's that function going to be? It's actually f of theta times cosine of theta. And I would just use the product rule for that. And what would that be? The derivative of the first, f prime times cosine of theta. Then it's going to be the f of theta times the derivative of cosine, which is minus sine theta. That's reasonable. All right, then what's y going to be? Y is also a function of theta. What's that going to be? It's f of theta times the sine of theta. And what do I got to do? I got to get y prime of theta. How do I do that? Chain rule, all right? So how do you do that? By taking the derivative of f, which is f prime of theta, times the function sine theta, plus f of theta, times derivative of sine, which is cosine theta. Very reasonable, by the way, all right? Now, some other things I could write down, if you're looking at it, you could write down, other things at this point. But the bottom line is I'm really kind of looking for the parametric form of the arc, the length of arc. And I know that, and you should know that as well, as being this over here. All right? Again, x is a function of theta, y is a function of theta. I'm just using that parametric form, by the way, for arc length. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm looking at that and I'm wondering, how do I get to what they said I should be able to get to? And that's where I got to go to the whiteboard, because I got to put some algebra down. So when someone says, I wonder what the algebra is, I've got to find out what x prime of theta is squared. I also have to find out what y prime of theta is squared. And that's going to be some work over here. Now someone says, what work is it going to be? It's going to be me squaring something, combining terms, hoping I end up with something that I recognize. So I'm going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to do that now. All right? Again, it's good as you have a piece of paper and pencil out, and you're willing to do it. So what are we going to do? We're going to be squaring this, and we're going to be squaring this over here. After I do that, I'm going to be looking for something maybe to make it simpler to even look at. So let's go to the whiteboard, and I'll write it down for you. And what am I writing down? Well, I'm going to write down x prime, I'm sorry about that, of theta. And what was that? That was f prime of theta times the cosine of theta minus f of theta times sine of theta. What do I got to do with that? I got to square it. Not so bad. What do you get? F prime of theta squared. I get cosine squared theta. I get f of theta squared, and I get sine squared of theta. What else do I get? I get minus 2 f prime theta, f, that's theta, f of theta, sine theta, cosine theta. Not so bad. I got to do y prime of theta. I need to square that guy. So let me write that down for you. You know what I got to write down first? I forgot to do that. Get my eraser out. I forgot to write down what the y prime was. Right? We just did it before. And again, you should have that written down at this point. What's y prime? That was going to be f prime of theta times the sine of theta plus f of theta times cosine of theta. I got to write down y prime of theta, and I got to square it. What do you get there? Let's see. You're going to get f prime of theta squared sine squared theta plus f of theta squared cosine squared theta. And then you can get plus 2. Let's see, f prime theta times f of theta sine theta cosine theta. All right? What are we doing now? Well, we're going to do this. We're going to take x prime of theta, which has been squared, and add it to y prime of theta squared. All right? So I'm looking at it, and someone says, what are you looking at? I'm looking at this. And I'm going to add them together. And what do I immediately notice about it? I notice that this term here and this term here, when added together, would be 0. What else do I notice? I got some things that are common, and I'll write these down for you. And what do you get? Well, I get f prime of theta squared. I want to circle what I'm looking at over here. And what's the coefficient going to be? It's just simply sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta. I got that done. And I got to look at these guys now. And where's it? Oh, right over here. Look at that. Boy, it's the same thing. It's going to be f of theta times sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta. So what do I get over here? X prime of theta when squared and added to y prime of theta squared is just going to be f prime of theta. Whoops. You know what? I don't think I should have put the square where I put it. I'm going to erase that now. And I know it looks strange, and I shouldn't have done that. And I did it in 2 spots too, but I didn't even write the second one down. Part of the reason not writing it down is I know what the results are. So f prime of theta squared plus f of theta squared. All right? So then the question becomes is, we did do something. I want to go back to the actual content because they said it was missing algebra, and I just put the missing algebra down for you. Now, you should pay careful attention to when someone says there's missing algebra. That means there's an opportunity for you to do the algebra. Let's go back to my notes, and let's take a look, see if we got this over here. So the question is, what did I just do? Well, when I went to the whiteboard, I just did this business over here. That's all I did, all right? Now, did I get this over here? I did. I got it. So I got this over here, and the question is, what is that? Well, let's write this down. F of theta is just r. So this over here is just r squared. And what's f prime of theta? All right, what's f prime of theta? Well, f prime of theta, right, I'll write this over here for you, is just, again, I'm looking at this, is just dr d theta. That's all it is. So what I find? I found this. Is that what they said it was? Let's take a look. It is, right over here. Again, the parameters, I know some of my notes I'm putting alpha and beta. The reason I don't want to confuse it with the theta in the problem, but they're subscripting it, like saying x1, x2. I'm just using alpha and beta. And again, that indicates over there that that's fine to do that. I would prefer to see alpha and beta. I realize the problem does say theta 1, theta 2. I just made a substitution because it's easier for me. Thank you.